Welcome everybody back to Critics Corner. I'm Phil Tice, and I'm here with a special guest, the Fanscotian's very own Mr. Josh Axelrod.
How you doing?
And we're gonna do the second half of our Oscar talk today. So we're just gonna kind of run down the big tentpole categories. So let's start off nice and straightforward. Best Picture. Where are you going with it?
So this is fun because it's almost like I don't need to say what's going to win Best Picture. It's the first year in a really long time where there's no clear-cut answer. It's been Boyhood for a while, but Birdman just swept like every Guild Award, and it's really not sure what's going to win. But what's fun about it is both are incredible movies, and I think a lot of people will be satisfied either way. It's not like a Brokeback Mountain Crash thing where people were infuriated when Crash won. You got two awesome options. And something that I've been saying for a while is Boyhood and Birdman both represent this incredible new trend in Hollywood, which I love. It's all about this inventive, innovative, risk-taking filmmaking, which is awesome. But the Academy is not always
They're not always the most accepting of that kind of new stuff.
I think you got two really, really creative movies. One was filmed over the course of 12 years, and another one's about a washed-up actor, and it's hallucinations and then fantasy. It's crazy. I think they have the potential to split the vote, and I think you got a very strong, traditional Academy movie, The Imitation Game. I think it very well could sneak in. I think it could win Best Picture because people really aren't focusing on it, but what it's got, it got a Best Director nomination. It's going to win Best Adapted Screenplay.
Yeah, it's been getting a lot of nominations and just flying under the radar for the most part.
It's got Best Editing and an acting award, two acting nominations. That's really all. Those are the key precursors to win Best Picture. And interesting enough, Birdman, which features some really incredible editing and was the frontrunner to win, was snubbed for Best Editing, and some people think that weakened its chances. Imitation Game actually snagged that Best Editing nomination, though Boyhood has it too. So I think Imitation Game is in a very strong third seat where it could very easily sneak in there if it splits the vote.
Now, if Imitation Game is to take, do you think that ups Benedict Cumberbatch's chances of getting the lead actor?
No, I really think, all three guys, right now it's really between Michael Keaton and Eddie Redmayne, and I'm siding towards Eddie Redmayne. All three guys I haven't seen American Sniper yet, actually. I'm still reading the book, but I've heard he's phenomenal. And Benedict Cumberbatch and Steve Carell turn in just incredible movies. In any different year, all these guys in this category could win Best Actor. But I really don't think it's going to be between anyone but Keaton and Redmayne.
Now, you were, I think, I can't remember if I was having this conversation with you earlier, but you were talking about how Eddie Redmayne's career, the way it's going right now, is mirroring.
It's analogous to Daniel Day-Lewis. They're both these British thespians who were trained with classical British theater. And they both turned in like some really early in their career, like fantastic performances, got rave reviews in theater and, some early stuff. Eddie Redmayne was in an Academy Award nominated movie, My Week with Marilyn, and he was also in 2012's Les Mis, the movie version. And he was on stage for that, and he's also been really flying under the radar for a while. But this, and like Daniel Day-Lewis did, they both play a real-life person with either a CP or like a motor neuron disease. Daniel Day-Lewis did in 1989, Christy Brown. He played Christy Brown in My Left Foot, and he won his first Oscar for it, and that started his incredible career. I would say he's the best actor alive right now. He's got 3 Oscars under his belt, and I really think this is going to be the path that Eddie Redmayne takes. I mean, he's shown he really, in theory of everything, turned in a performance that I could say was as good and will be as legendary as Day-Lewis did in My Left Foot.
Wow. That is a strong statement.
He really just blew me away with his performance. I don't think anyone's done any acting like Redmayne has done in theory of everything this year.
And do you think that if given the right opportunities moving forward, which I think he definitely could get these opportunities, judging by what he's already done, do you think going forward he could continue on to be as successful as Day-Lewis?
You're talking about like that 3 Oscar trajectory?
If that, or even just to be an actor on the level of Daniel Day-Lewis. Because if you ask any actor,
that's right.
he is the pinnacle.
I think it's a little sacrilegious to kind of take this new guy and say he could overthrow Daniel Day-Lewis. I will say he's definitely got an Oscar in his future. I think that is going to be this year, but if not, he will.
If not, definitely down the road.
Definitely be turning in way more Oscar-worthy performances in the future. I won't say he's going to be the Lord has risen and he's back.
And he's back and it's Eddie Redmayne.
Lewis, but he's really a phenomenal up and rising British actor. So.
Okay, great. And we're going to touch on one of the smaller nominations, which I know you were quite strongly opinionated on, which is the animated feature nomination.
So, the Lego Movie was just this phenomenal animated movie this year that really appealed not just to kids but to the parents that took the kids, and it really surprised everyone. You hear they're making a movie out of like the plastic toy. What could it be? It's gonna be like Battleship with Liam Neeson, but they really just made this phenomenally funny, really well animated because it's all CGI, but it looks like it's stop motion Legos. Beautifully animated, witty, smart, well voiced. Just this great movie. And it's really like you got your checklist to win a Best Animated Feature Award, and they just kept hitting every point. And there was really, I'd say this was the biggest thing when the nominations came out that Lego Movie was not nominated for Best Animated Feature. I think people were very, very upset and very surprised. There really isn't a clear reason why it wasn't nominated, but
yeah, because you think about it, a lot of these movies, going back to like more like the Best Picture guys, is. A lot of them did not do fantastic box office wise.
That's true.
Like Whiplash, I think, is one of the lowest earning.
It's like 10 million, maybe.
Yeah, it's one of the lowest earning Best Picture nominees ever. And what you had with the Lego Movie is it was critically very well received and commercially very well received. So I don't know if they've put out any statement for why that is. I don't know if you have any ideas for why that might have been.
It's pretty enigmatic. No one really gets why. Interesting fun fact though, American Sniper is a pretty low grossing Best Picture year.
Yeah,
American Sniper has now grossed more than every Best Picture nominee combined with I don't know exactly, but it's in the 100 millions, and they've been doing incredibly since January, their opening. They've still been taking the top spot like every weekend.
Wow. So that's impressive. That's definitely impressive. And so, speaking of snubs, we're gonna move our way to one of the bigger Best Picture snubs this year, which is Selma. So, and there's been a lot of discussion for any of you listeners who don't know. There was a lot of discussion because Selma got snubbed, and a lot of its actors or members were not nominated. There's been some race relations stuff that's been brought up with the Academy, that they're saying that there aren't enough nominees of ethnic nominees this year, and so I wanted to see on your take. Do you think it's a race thing, or do you think it's really just chance this year?
I think it leans more towards chance, but that doesn't mean that it's necessarily excusable. What I like to do, I don't like to just say this movie was snubbed. For Gone Girl, I was upset it didn't get enough nominations. I said adapted screenplay should have been nominated for Best Original Score. So with Selma, the acting was very surprising. And that's what people have been focusing on, but also original screenplay. And that's a little more understandable. You know, screenplay can go either way with a lot of stuff. So that was maybe a little more excusable. But what I've really been, acting and directing were really the ones to focus on. David Oyelowo, just magnificent performance. Really one of the best of the year, and it's like you're listening to Dr. King deliver one of his speeches. So I was really annoyed and irritated that Oyelowo got bumped out by Bradley Cooper, who has this tendency to do this. He, for lack of a better word, steals a nomination from someone else who, in my eyes, is more deserving. He did it last year to Tom Hanks for Saving Mr. Banks, and to be fair, American Sniper is the one Best Picture nominee I've yet to see. Still have to finish the book, but I just can't imagine that he turns in a better performance than Oyelowo.
Now, that being said, I will agree with you that last year I don't think Cooper deserved the nomination he got for American Hustle.
Momentum going with it.
It did. That being said, I did love American Hustle, but I don't think Cooper should have taken that. But
Don't get me started on Christian Bale for American Hustle.
Please, we're gonna get. We have like 7 minutes. I can't get an argument about this. But I was able to see both films, and I know this year it is a little bit less clean cut for me on David or Bradley, because both of them put in fantastic performances. But it's very difficult to compare those two because you have David coming across with this big booming personality that was Martin Luther King, and it's very impressive how he's able to recreate that and the inspiration that comes. Oh, I just bumped my mic. The inspiration that comes with that. But then you have Cooper with a lot more of a subtle performance and a really more painful performance coming from him.
The Academy doesn't tend to go for those subtle performances.
That's true. This is a new thing. That being said, the Academy has always been a sucker for war films.
That's true.
So I'm not quite sure where it's going to sway in this department.
Could also be, that there's been a recent tendency we saw with Matthew McConaughey last year. Oh, he dropped 50 pounds. He wins an Oscar when really that Oscar belonged to Chiwetel Ejiofor last year, if not Bruce Dern, if not Leonardo DiCaprio. Matthew McConaughey was fantastic, but one of the really big things he had going for him was that weight loss. And Cooper bulked up and got huge for American Sniper. I think he put on like 60 pounds.
Something like that.
And now it's been showing that the Academy and viewers love to see that transformation. That's also what was helping Steve Carell get in there. So, but just going back to the race aspect, so just in terms of acting, I think David Oyelowo definitely should have been nominated. Ava DuVernay, who was the director, female and black, she would have been the first black woman director nominated for an Academy Award. I think definitely deserved the nomination. But I had the honor of conducting an interview with Stephen Whitty over the weekend, who is the film critic for the Star Ledger, and he's a Pulitzer Prize nominee. And he said something very interesting about race and about the Oscar nominees, which I really love. I just want to paraphrase him. He said, when it comes to acting, you have 20 chances. You have 20 slots to fill with people.
Yeah.
And the fact that the Academy chose 20 white people was very peculiar. And then you go into screenwriting and you have original and adapted. You got 10 slots, and now you include 5 for directing. That's 15 additional slots, and not once did the Academy choose to include a black, female, or Latino screenwriter or director. And
well, actually, there was I think the director for Birdman is Latino.
Oh, you're right. Okay.
But continuing, that's one out of that's 1 out of 35.
An outlier, which is really not that it's unacceptable, but it's a little dissettling.
It's definitely like interesting to look at that this has happened, and I personally don't think it's direct prejudice from the Academy.
I wouldn't call it racist, but it's just unfortunate.
It's been difficult because the argument I've heard recently, the counter argument to this is that when they nominate ethnic nominees for whatever reason, there has been stuff like when Crash won Best Picture, they were like, it's because of
homophobia.
It's black. No, it was because of like its huge amount of just all this. This backing that they have to give something to the black community, or they have to give something to the Latino or the female community or something. They have to give something to some community. And I don't agree with that. I don't think that movies should win to appease a certain group, even if it's for political things, which we all know the Oscars are incredibly political. But it's interesting to look at that some people think that if more of these ethnic nominees were nominated, that they would have been nominated purely because of their ethnicity, not because of their talent, which I don't support. I think.
Well, it's interesting that you brought up the Crash Best Picture win, because Brokeback Mountain was the front runner, and everybody cried homophobia when it didn't win.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that kind of juxtaposition of the two different communities, like the gay community versus, I guess, the black community. Crash was a very ethnic film, but I agree with it. A film should be judged on the the merits of, you know, the art and the filmmaking, and not, you know, we always like to see a message behind it, but it shouldn't be
just
driven
about
to
that.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, thank you very much for coming in. And the Oscars are this Sunday on
February 22nd.
What channel?
ABC.
ABC, yeah, I think so. All right. Hosted by Neil Patrick Harris. Can't wait to see that. He's always good. So tune in, and we'll probably do a post-Oscar recap. Talk about what we think.
Angry about some
I'm
stuff,
sure we will. So we'd like to thank Mr. Axelrod for coming in again,
Thanks for having me.
We will see you guys post-Oscars.